takes it in overtime. Brady can shot, breakaway shoots, scores!
Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon and I am your host. A bit of a different backdrop right now. I'm at my girlfriend's house and shout out to her. She's an absolute beauty to let me film this video, but she knows how big of a contract extension this is, because this is a massive contract extension as the beauty himself, the Sandman, Jake Sanderson, has extended here in the nation's capital for another 8 years at $8.5 million per year. It's a total of $64.4 million through those 8 years, and the contract kicks in during the 2024-2025 season. Holy cow, Pierre Dorion, you've done it again, as Jake Sanderson will be the 5th player on the Sens roster to be in around the $8 million AAV range. Now I bring that up because Tom Chabot is making $50,000 less than Jake Sanderson, and look, I think Tom Chabot still has a big part of the future here in Ottawa, but let's be honest, he's much older than, Jake Sanderson. He's been here for a few years now, and he's making a lot of money. So there's going to be a lot of people saying this, including myself, saying that Thomas Chabot has to have a massive season going into next year, and I think he's going to be great. I thought he did a very good job last year, considering the injuries and whatnot. But Chabot next year is going to really have to solidify himself into that top four with guys like Clevin and now Sanderson and Chikrin. I mean, there's a lot of competition, a lot of money being thrown around, and Tom Chabot might become expendable because of how much money he's making in the future, especially with this Jake Sanderson contract. So expect Tom Chabot, in response to this contract, to have a fantastic year, or at least push for a fantastic year, because he knows there's only 2 teams in the National Hockey League that have defensemen making $8 million, that have, 2 teams in the National Hockey League with 2 defensemen making $8 million. That's now the Ottawa Senators, of course, Thomas Chabot and Jake Sanderson, and then that would be the New York Rangers as well. So, being Fox and Trouba. So there's only 2 teams in the National Hockey League that have defensemen making $8 million plus a year. So once again, I love Chabot, but the writing is on the wall. If he doesn't, go back to the way he used to be playing a couple years ago before the injury last year and the down season last year, because of all the time he's played over the last few years, playing 30 plus minutes a night, he might be the odd man out in the future to clear up some cap space. So be on the lookout for Tom Chabot to have a fantastic year once again, because not a lot of teams in the National Hockey League, only 2, Ottawa and the New York Rangers, have 2 defensemen making $8 million. But this is a well-earned contract extension for Jake Sanderson, and this contract, by the way, also includes a 10-team no-trade clause, which will be applicable to the final 3 seasons of this contract's duration. So that's standard. Most players that are locked up for 8 years get some sort of no-trade clause. I'm surprised it's only a 10-team no-trade clause. There's other players on this team that have a full no-movement clause, like Travis Hamonic, for example. But I don't think Jake Sanderson's going anywhere anytime soon. But let's just say, look, if he falls off, and last year, somehow, I don't think this is going to be the case whatsoever, but let's say next year he falls off and he just doesn't play like he did last year ever again. Well, the 10-team no-trade clause at least gives a sense of flexibility to move him in the future if this contract does not work out, because I have very, very little doubt, to be quite honest with you, that this contract is not going to work out for the Sens. Because this guy, and we're going to talk about it right now, was fantastic last year as a rookie. He played in 77 games, scoring 4 goals, 28 assists for 32 points, 17 of those on the power play. He also averaged just under 22 minutes a night as a defenseman, as a rookie, okay? A rookie defenseman averaging 22 minutes a night in a playoff race is unbelievable. He also led the Ottawa Senators in blocks at 147. So the guy is physical, he can block shots, he can play offensively, he can play defensively. This guy's a complete and utter package. Let's also not forget that with major injuries in the blue line down the stretch last year with Chabot and Chikrin out, Sanderson, as a rookie, okay, younger than me, was playing nearly 30 minutes a night. Nearly every single game down the stretch. That's unbelievable. His two-way game is unbelievably tremendous. And while 32 points is certainly impressive for a rookie defenseman, even just for a forward as a rookie, 32 points is impressive, let alone, for a defenseman. His defensive game is even more impressive. The way Jake Sanderson makes difficult, tight moments look flawless is unreal. The amount of times this guy is in the boards in our own zone with a guy or two on him, the way he can flawlessly spin out of that, get a stretch pass and get an offensive opportunity going the other way like that happens so often, at least 3, 4, 5 times a night. This guy is so good with the puck. You can't knock him off the puck, and his skating is so elite. His two-way game is unbelievable. And because of this puck control and these skating abilities, it makes him a true threat on both ends of the ice. Once again, offensively, 32 points is not something to scoff at, especially as a rookie defenseman. But defensively speaking, he's a two-way guy. Defensively speaking for Jake Sanderson, his skating and puck control is unbelievable, especially in those in-tight moments along the boards, where Ottawa has lost a lot of battles, which is why Ottawa, defensively speaking, in their own zone, looks like a mess. They just don't win the board battles often. Jake Sanderson is one of those lone exceptions. He absolutely dominates the boards. He absolutely dominates both ends of the ice. And wherever he is, he dominates, because Jake Sanderson is truly that good of a player. And his ability to shut down elite players like it was nothing on a nightly basis, once again, as a rookie, makes me very comfortable giving him this payday. We all know Jake Sanderson's going to be an elite defenseman for years and years and years to come. And the Sens were always going to keep him anyways. I mean, they didn't draft him 5th overall a couple years ago for no reason. They were going to keep him around long term, obviously. So they were going to keep him anyways. So this move makes far more sense. I mean, far more sense than a bridge deal for a couple years that would result in Jake Sanderson making millions and millions and $1 million more than $8 million per year. We're talking 2-3 years from now, if he continues to progress like he is, you're talking 10, 11, 12 million dollars, okay? And Ottawa just frankly cannot afford that. So some might say the AAV is a tad high, but this has the makings to be exactly like the Tim Stützle contract. People then, for the Tim Stützle contract, also said that was an overpay as well. So with Jake Sanderson last year instantly emerging as the Sens' best defender, in my opinion, look, I love Shabbat, I love Chychrun, I love Zub, but Jake Sanderson was dominant in every single aspect of the game. Never really looked out of place. There was only a few times where he actually made rookie mistakes. And once again, for rookie defensemen, you expect a lot of mistakes. Jake Sanderson hardly made a mistake. And I'm not just biased saying that. Ask anyone around the National Hockey League that watches the Ottawa Senators once in a while. This guy hardly makes mistakes. He looks like a seasoned veteran out there. There's no doubt about it. I don't think any of you guys would disagree with me on that, but I'm saying that because we've seen a lot of people on Twitter already in the last 30 minutes or so since this signing dropped, saying that this is an overpay, and it really isn't. It really isn't. He's the best defenseman on the Ottawa Senators already. He's only going to get better and better and better. And signing him for 8 years at just over $8 million per year, when in 2-3 years from now he's worth $10+ million per year, such a bargain for the potential he has and the impact he's already made on this team. Once again, defensemen are never cheap. And signing a young star, especially a young star, for significantly cheaper than what he'd likely earn in a couple years is a complete steal. So this is a home run move for Pierre Dorion and the Ottawa Senators. And most importantly, the Ottawa Senators core is set for nearly the next decade, baby. I am so fired up. Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris, Jacob Chychrun. The list goes on and on and on. There's so much young talent in this Ottawa Senators system, and Jake Sanderson's just another pillar to that core. And it's really refreshing to not have to be worried about our young guns sticking around long term anymore. We used to always have to bite our nails and be nervous about guys sticking around, but no, Jake Sanderson, he could have waited a couple years, got a big payday somewhere else for a few $1 million more per year. But no, he said, screw it. I want to be a part of this team, this culture, and this exciting future. And he's done it. He's here for another 8 more years at the very minimum, plus another year on his ELC contract. But once again, it's just so refreshing. It's really, really refreshing to have our young guys want to be here and not have to be worried about keeping them here. So let's ride, baby. This is a massive contract for the Ottawa Senators. The core is locked up, and this is the best blue line Ottawa's had since the Stanley Cup days. And I'm not biased in saying that. I have never watched a better blue line in my life, other than, of course, during the Stanley Cup days. So I cannot say this enough. I'm so excited to watch this team next year. That blue line's going to be elite. Watching Jake Sanderson cook every single night. Jacob Chychrun cook every single night. Shabbat cook every single night. Zub doing Zub things. You got Tkachuk, you got Stützle, you got Norris, you got Batherson, you got Tarasenko. Of course, you got Giroux, you got, so many players. Pinto hopefully soon. Kubalik, really great. There's so much talent on this team. You got Korpisalo and Forsberg in the net. This team is a playoff team. Jake Sanderson sees it. That's why he's locked up for the next 8 years. He wants to be part of this team. And my goodness, I am so excited to have him part of this team for the next 9 years, as Jake Sanderson, potentially the best defenseman this team will have for the next decade and a half, has locked up for nearly another decade. So welcome to Ottawa once again, Jake Sanderson. Shout out to Pierre Dorion for an absolute home run of a move. For all the slack that Pierre Dorion gets, this guy consistently makes elite contract decisions. Tim Stützle, and now potentially Jake Sanderson. You can even look at Josh Norris, who, of course, coming off injury, a lot of question marks there, but 35 goal scorer as a center for what he's making is a bargain. So Pierre Dorion has a knack for this. I have the utmost confidence that this contract is going to absolutely work out, And once again, I say that because I already believe Jake Sanderson is the best defenseman on this team. No ifs or buts about it. And I'm just excited to see Jake Sanderson here for another decade. It's unbelievable. Once again, I can't say it enough. His skating abilities and his puck control abilities makes him such an elite threat at both ends of the ice. And this guy is a game changer. He single-handedly helps the Ottawa Senators win games. So him signing for 8 years at just over $8 million is a bargain. It's a steal. It's a home run. I can keep on going on with these verbs, but the point very simply is this is a good day to be an Ottawa Senator fan. It's an exciting time to be an Ottawa Senator fan. And tonight is a good night for the Ottawa Senator organization. So with that, thank you all for watching. I'm going to wrap it up there because I can go on for days about Jake Sanderson, and no one, including myself and probably you watching this, wants that. So we're going to end it here, but welcome back, Jake Sanderson. It's an absolute home run move from Pierre Dorion. It's technically the fall now, so we're going to call it the fall of Pierre, but just a great move here by Pierre Dorion and the Sens organization to bring back Jake Sanderson for 8 more years, 9 more years, including his next year on the ELC. But my goodness, this came out of nowhere on this Wednesday night at like 10 o'clock at night. It's unbelievable. Cannot be more fired up. And once again, to the people saying that this is an overpay, you cannot be more wrong. This is not an overpay. This might be one of the best contracts in the next year or two in the National Hockey League. Mark my words on that for defensemen. Mark my words. Now with that, I'll see you all very, very soon. Go Sens go.